welcome to a new episode of Crafting with Cosplay Fabrics. My name is Indra and today I'm going to show you how to make a utility belt for all of your sewing tools. Okay, so here are the materials that I'm going to be using for this project. Before I start explaining all these materials, keep in mind that I will be using my sewing machine for this project. However, you can sew it by hand, but I highly recommend that you use your sewing machine if you do have one. So, the main fabric that I'm going to be using is this beautiful blue iridescent. This is the mirror foil from the JoAnn collection. I'm also going to use a parachute clip. This is a 1 inch and that will go with this elastic. This is also a 1 inch. Something to cut with, so I'll have my fabric pair of scissors, also straight pins, and I'm also going to be using craft foam, and this is the kind of craft foam that just comes in like those sheets, like the cheapy kind. This particular sheet is 17 3/4 by 11 3/4. However, we will be cutting it a little bit smaller, but you can choose the size that you'd like. It doesn't necessarily have to be the size that I'm using. But we will also be using something to measure with. I'm going to be using my mat a lot, but if you just have a ruler or measuring tape or anything like that, that works absolutely well too. So let's get to this. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut out the craft foam 8 inches by 12 inches approximately. I just did like the shortest side of the craft foam and just measured 8 inches and just cut across. I figured that was easiest. And then I grabbed the fabric and I cut it. This is honestly just kind of eyeballing it, so you can see it's maybe a little bit like 3/4 of an inch around. So what we're gonna do is we're going to sew just the bottom and the top. That way we're creating a sort of like a little sleeve that then we can put the craft foam inside. Good thing is that because it's stretchy, it's gonna be a little bit easier as far as, you know, if you sew it slightly tight or something, it won't be too bad. So I'm just going to put these fabrics facing each other, like right sides facing each other. And like I always tell you guys, it's okay if it's not perfect. This is supposed to be just like a fun project, and I love stuff like this because if you're still new to sewing, then this definitely helps like give you some practice. So just cut this here real quick just to even it out a little bit more. Alright, so I have my two fabrics facing each other, and then I'm going to place a little piece of craft foam just so that I can kind of measure, and you can pin it if you want to so you can see exactly where it's going to be, or you can also just use a marker, which I should have told you guys when I was explaining the materials, but just gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll just kind of mark there. I'm just going to do it all the way around. You don't have to do it all the way around, but I figured it might just be easier to have that visual. So, what we're going to do is just sew, like I said, the top and the bottom parts. Just straight stitch across. Then we're going to flip it inside out, put the craft foam inside, and then we'll tuck the edges, and then we'll sew it shut. And then we'll get to that next step. So I went ahead and sewed, and all I did is just a straight stitch. So I'm just going to turn this inside out, and I did cut off like the excess a little bit. And when I sewed, let me show you a little bit closer. On one side, I try to sew like right on the line that I drew, but in the other side, I did it like a little bit above, just to give it a little more room. But You don't have to do that. You can do it like really, really like snug if you want to. But I think that should be okay. Okay, so once I turn it inside out, I'm going to put the piece of craft foam inside. And I'm going to try and fix this so that the little hems that I did are on the very ends and not like in the middle, you know what I mean? And I want to make sure that when I put this in here that I have some space left on the sides, like see? You can see like both ends, because I want to go ahead and tuck those ends in. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Cool. And I want to try and get that little much of this as like underneath as possible. All right. Okay, so once I have it to where I like how it looks, then I am going to tuck these ends in. Just kind of like that. Just so you get an idea of what I'm doing. Okay, so once this is tucked in, I'm going to pin this. If you just, as I've mentioned in previous videos, if you're working with fabrics like this and you don't want to put like little holes in it, you can also use little like office clips and just clip it. That way you have something holding everything together without having to like poke through the fabric. But what I'm going to do right now is just put this to a side, but now you know where we're at with the main piece. I'm going to grab the elastic and I'm going to cut a piece that is going to basically go around my waist. I'm gonna cut that, and because it is an elastic, I just want it to fit comfortably. And I'm going to, once I have the whole elastic, I'm going to cut like, let me show you, this would be folding it in half, and then if I fold it again, it'll be like maybe that like quarter of it, I'm gonna cut it. And that's where I'm going to put my parachute clips. So I'm gonna put one of them and then this other piece here and sew it down like both sides, and then the other ends of the elastic I'm going to put here. Like before sewing this down, I'm going to put that right in there, and when I sew this, that way it'll like sew the elastic to it. And I'm going to do that on both sides. One side it'll be the long elastic piece, and the other side will be that short like quarter piece of the elastic. So I'm gonna then sew this real quick, just as I was sewing before. Just straight stitch works totally fine with this project, and then we'll do the last part. Alright, so I have gone ahead and sewn the sides with the elastics on the sides as well. It is a little bit tough like to work with this fabric when it has foam and stuff in it, so you might find that some rolling might happen. So I do recommend it, if you can, to use a walking foot. I feel like that would help a lot, or a Teflon foot, something kind of like that. But as always, it's just something that's supposed to be fun to do. So once we're at this stage, and you'll see I also attached the clip on it, the parachute clip, and basically this is what's going to go around the waist. So you want to make sure that when you're putting the clips in, that it's like, you know, like what part is facing forward. That way you know how to like sew the little edge for the elastic. And as you can see, all I did was just kind of turn it inside. That way it didn't have any of like the edges like fraying. Let's see. So once we have that all attached, then we're going to take this bottom part and fold it kind of like that. Just eyeballing it is okay. And what we're gonna do is first sew the sides down, and then we're gonna sew like down from here all the way down to the amount of little pockets that you want. I like to have one big one, that way it fits my phone. A lot of times I actually I'm working and I want to listen to like music with my headphones through my phone, or like a little iPod or something, and I'm not wearing anything that has pockets, because yes, that happens. So I'd like to have like a little sort of like pocket for my phone, and I'll fit it like right in there. And then, you know, maybe a pocket that's big enough for, say, a pair of scissors or some pens. So we'll just sew a few of them down, different sizes, however many you would like, and of the sizes that you want also. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew those down. Okay, and there it is. Dun, 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 dun. So I created several spaces so that I could fit like the tools that I use really often. Like I said before, I like to keep a big pocket for either my phone or like my little old like iPod that I use to listen to music. I create these smaller ones just because it's a little bit like tighter fitting for either straight pins or like a sewing needle like I did here. And then space for like scissors, pens, etc., whatever you need. And the cool thing is that, you know, obviously you don't need to be carrying all this stuff around, but it's always so nice to have like a place where you have like several pockets that you can constantly be using, especially if you're working like against a dress form and you constantly need to have like stuff like right at your fingertips. This is also really, really great. Not necessarily for sewing tools, but you could easily use this for, say, if you're a makeup artist, you can use it for you know, pockets for your brushes, or even like a little like toolbox. If you're doing, say, electrical work or anything like that, that you need to have like your tools like with you, but you want to have something like cool. Obviously pick your fabrics based on what it is that you're doing. If you need something a little bit sturdier, then obviously choose fabrics that you can, you know, like, you know, if you need something like for, say, like I said before, electrical tools, pick something very, very like heavy duty fabrics. And if all you're doing is just like, say, use stuff for like makeup, then maybe something that you can like clean up easily. But that's why I really love this fabric. I think that it not only looks really pretty and really cool, but I feel like it's easy cleanup. And it doesn't really like, because it has like a foil in it, it doesn't really like pick up any like moisture or anything like that very easily. So I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit more impermeable and really great to use if you are having to use items that might make this dirty. But this is how this one is. And here's one that I did many, many, many years ago. And this is the one that I use almost like on a daily basis. And as you can see, it's just like a character fabric. And I measured out like these little pockets. And I made like a little stuffed one just so that I could keep my straight pins at. And like I said, one big one for my phone and stuff. And I just used bias tape for the belting part rather than an elastic. but I felt like it was time to update and use a really pretty fabric and do something that was a little more malleable. Also, something that was more up to date with the kind of tools that I use. So there it is. And there you go. I hope that you enjoyed this project. It was super fun for me to make it. Maybe it's something that you can do to help you while you're working on any of your crafting things or maybe your cosplay projects. But if you have any other questions or concerns or anything like that, please leave them in the comment section below. As always, I hope that you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another tip, trick, or tutorial featuring cosplay fabrics. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!